What is going on YouTube and Diablo fans? My name's Andreas, and as always, welcome back to Mana and Motherboards. Today we're just going to do a quick little video on my 0 to Enigma. So this question has been asked a couple times in some of our other videos on YouTube and just been commented and posted about quite a bit, that people are asking, how did I manage to get Enigma within the first 2 weeks of this new ladder season on the Warlock, and specifically my Echoing Strike Warlock. So first things out of the way, I am extremely hot today. It is literally like 40 degrees here in Cape Town, South Africa. It is boiling hot, so if my t-shirt's sticking to me and my face is dripping with sweat, please excuse me for that. Now, moving along swiftly to the topic of today's video, here we have my Enigma. So I made it in a mage plate. Luckily, well, not luckily, whatever you want to call it, I found a 3-socketed mage plate during my 50 cow runs video that I did. I'll put a link in the description for that video if you haven't checked it out. But I found multiple 3-socketed mage plates, and I used one that was over 250 defense so that I could at least break that 1000 defense barrier. And I rolled a 771 out of 775 defense, which I'm very stoked about. And if we just look at Enigma, there's not one stat on this armor that isn't fantastic for basically any caster build, and even for melee builds as well. It's got that damage reduction, that extra life, the skills, the faster run walk, the strength, the magic find, and very most importantly that one to teleport for any class. So it's just a fantastic piece of armor, and I think it is probably one of the most important puzzle pieces for most builds early on in a ladder season, because it just opens up the whole game in terms of farming areas and where you can maximize your strategy for killing monsters, gaining experience, gaining wealth, and finding items in the game. So that's why this was the first item that I actually traded for. There was no other item on my character before I had Enigma that I traded for. All of my wealth and all of my resources were going into getting the Enigma. Now, if we just take in a nutshell, how did I get the Enigma? I'm not going to tell you some secret or some special thing that's like, oh, do this, and you will get yourself an Enigma. It's a grind. That is the bottom line, that's the crux of the whole thing. You gotta grind, you gotta put in the hours, you have to farm until you get the wealth to get it, and try and farm areas that are effective for your class, your build, and your character. So I started off with cow runs because I was a fire warlock, and in Hull I wanted to do Hull content to try and maximize finding all the valuable items in the game. So I did cows because they don't have elemental resistances that make them immune. So my fire warlock was just tearing through cows, and if you check out the video that I did doing my 50 cow runs, just after I had beaten Hull, that was the whole goal, beat Hull, get straight into cow runs, and I found white monarchs, I found a viper magi's that I was using, I found a Geeds that I traded, I found an Oculus that I traded, and I found a whole lot of bases that I could use to trade some wealth and get some value for the runs that I was doing. And another bonus about those cow runs is that you also amass a lot of good charms, which will help you in Hull with your resistances, maybe even your magic find, also possibly finding skillers. It's also a great place to possibly find runes, and that was why I just jumped straight into the cow runs and got a bit of value out of that. And I was trading on JSP in order to sell these items, and I'll go over later a little bit. I'll pull up the gold log from my JSP. A lot of people have accused me saying, oh, you got such good gear so quickly. My gear really isn't that special or that fantastic. I guess it depends on who you're asking or who you're speaking to, but it's kind of your cookie cutter Echoing Strike gear, so there's nothing too crazy going on there. I never, with any real money, buy any items on JSP or any other platform. I play solo most of the time. I film as much as I can. To all the haters out there, I'm not here to please you. I'm not here to prove anything to you. You can say what you like. So Cows was where I kicked off, and I did those 50 runs and sold a whole bunch of cheap stuff on JSP. Then I started my 100 Chaos runs, and that was because I had built enough gear from the Cow runs to safely switch over to Echoing Strike and have a what I would call an efficient Echoing Strike sort of setup. So from those Cow runs, I then moved into Chaos runs, like I mentioned, and I started grinding 100 Chaos runs. And in between those Chaos runs, as I was doing them, for instance, the Cow level came up as a terror zone, and I jumped into the Cow levels to do some terrorized cows, because that's a great terror zone to farm. And very, very fortunately and luckily, I wasn't even filming because I was busy filming my Chaos runs, and then I just quickly switched over to Cow runs, and I don't have enough space to film absolutely everything on my computer. So I was just doing terrorized cows, and a Jar rune dropped. Now, Jar at the beginning of this season in particular was worth 2 bear runes in value, and it was kind of the most sought after item and rune in the game. So dropping a Jar rune in those terrorized cows was my first high rune and my first super GG drop of any value, and it was such a huge thing because I needed it for my Enigma, and it was so expensive, and I was just so incredibly lucky to find it. I was like, I literally couldn't believe it when it dropped my first high rune quite early. I think it was like day 5 or so of the season. It was such a huge find, and I couldn't have been luckier in that sense. And that's why I say it's a grind as well as luck. I was very lucky to drop that Jar rune. So after that happened in the terrorized cows, I then carried on with my Chaos runs, and in I think run number 2 or 3 or something, I dropped a Crown of Ages, which rolled 2 sockets, and then I traded that for a couple hundred forum gold. I found a set of Waterwalks that I traded for a bit of forum gold, a Geed's Charm, Titans, T-Gods, a Shaker that I then used and I'm still using right now. I found some Sacred Armor, an Ariox Needle that I traded. It didn't roll 4 skills, it only rolled 2, but I traded all of that stuff for as much forum gold as I could and for whatever value that I could. So the Chaos runs also got me part of the way there, and then after the Chaos runs, I've still to this point been busy with my Chronicle High Council run video that I am putting together, so definitely stay tuned for that one. And out of all the areas that I farmed, yes, I found that Jar rune, and that was a very lucky find, but other than that, the Trav runs provided most of the value and wealth that I amassed in the beginning of the season now. So in the Trav, I dropped another T-Gods, I dropped a few Skillers for Druids and various other classes, I dropped a few Verdungos, I dropped another Ariox that rolled 4 skills but it wasn't Eth. I found 2 5/5 cold facets that early on in the season traded for quite a bit, and I also found some very strong, very well-rolled small charms. So these small charms, one was a 10 lightning resist, 20 life small charm that I think sold for a couple hundred forum gold, which was, you know, a lot of value. And then I also found a 20 life 9 cold res small charm, which also sold for like just over 100 forum gold or so. And other than that, I found the High Lords that I'm wearing right now from those Trav runs. I found another Viper Magi that I traded. I also found another Titans, just various stuff. So I'll quickly pull up the logs of my JSP trading now so that you can have a look at that. And what we can see here is I started off with nothing, and I sold something, I can't remember what that was, for 10 forum gold. I then traded that Crown of Ages for 150 forum gold. That was a 26 all res 10DR one with 2 sockets. As you can see here, that is what I sold. I then sold something for 40 forum gold. I sold a small charm for 175 forum gold. I think that was the lightning one. I then sold the cold one for 75 forum gold. I sold something here for 90 forum gold, not sure what that is. Sold another thing for 110 forum gold. Another thing for 35, another thing for, this was a rainbow facet, this was a 5/5 facet, I sold for 140, some other thing, probably a base, for 20, another thing for 15. I then also, in between everything, farmed up a key set that I sold for 250 forum gold. Sold something here for 5 forum gold, 50 for I sold a T-Gods for 15. I sold a set of Thunder Strokes, which I also found in the Trav, for 10 forum gold. I found a Light Skiller with some other ads in the Trav that I sold for 55. What else? I sold something else for 250 there. I'm not quite sure what that was. But yeah, I sold another 5/5 facet. Basically all of those items that I mentioned, as well as those runs, the 50k runs, the 100 chaos runs, and the multiple Trav runs, that all got me a bear rune, which with that jar rune that I dropped, as well as the base that I found, I could then make Enigma. So it wasn't some magical method or some crazy thing that got me Enigma. I mean, yes, the jar drop was crazy, but that is what allowed me to get Enigma. And then once I had Enigma, I could farm more effectively and start getting the other pieces of gear. And other than my Obsession Staff and my Enigma Mage Plate, other than those 2 items, everything else has been self-found this season. So my Shaco, my High Lords, my Spirit Monarch, Gore Riders, my Sling Ring, my Arachnid Mesh, this Dual Leech Ring, all the Skillers, everything else, all these charms, all of that has been self-found. So I've traded for the 2 Runeward big items, and that is just to get them more effectively and more efficiently. And other than that, I've amassed a lot of charms from both the cow level and the Trav runs that I've been doing. Trav runs are also a great place to get charms. And that is, in a nutshell, the story of how I got Enigma. I mean, some people are lucky, some people are less lucky. This whole game is like a gambling simulator. And I think it was a fair amount of time, being 2 weeks that it took me of grinding. That was probably like 5 to 8 hours a day to get Enigma. I didn't get it very fast, relatively, by any means. And that is the story, that's the nutshell. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If there's any other type of video that you would like me to do or like me to share, please comment down below. And any of your subs, views, likes, shares, all of that good stuff is always greatly appreciated. And we'll check you again very soon for some more Mana and Motherboards. Cheers.